Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Podcast by Army podcast, where we talk about BTS, Army, fandom, and research. We're your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Ringland and
Jhertau Her, a university researcher.
And today we're talking about
Kim
Taehyung's
Taehyung.
birthday! Woo!
Happy birthday, Taehyung. Our winter bear, our most beautiful wonder, Kim Taehyung. Most handsome man in the world, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Most handsome man in the world.
Mm.
They can't take that from him. They can't. Okay, I know it's a random fan poll that no one cares about, and also I am against voting in it because it gives advertising money to the company that made it, but he is the most handsome man in the world. Thank you. All you, Kate. You got this.
All me. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're starting with favorite songs. And I'm going to start by saying this was actually really hard for me to choose. And I was a little bit surprised by that. When I originally thought, I was like, oh no, there'll be a clear winner, but there wasn't. For example, I'd really like to just say all of Layover, just the whole thing. Because it's one of those albums you can just listen, you should listen from front to back, whatever I'm trying to say. So I went back into the history of songs and I landed on Singularity. And I will say, this is one of those songs that is one of the first solo songs of a BTS member I listened to. And I will say it was part of my falling down the rabbit hole. It was like a very helpful step on the way down said rabbit hole. Because my original falling down the rabbit hole was a lot more about their dancing and a lot more about the stage performances. And Singularity is one of those that has like a really awesome stage and a super awesome choreography. So that caught my attention super early on. And then of course I can also say that the song itself, there's something about the sound of it that just hits the right frequencies in my brain. And then the actual lyrics of the song are super good too. So like it's the whole package. But yeah, I did definitely like for those who need a memory jog, it's the choreography where he's like reaching into a coat and he's like dancing with his own hand essentially. It's super, super cool. And then it's all the masks. And then all the stages for it had really cool costume set stuff going on. Anyway, so that's me. Singularity is my song Oh the Day.
Very slay. I also love Singularity. Actually, Tae was the first member that I noticed in BTS. Like I remember because I watched On Kinetic Manifesto, and I like saw him and I was like, oh my god, he's so cool, because he had like the tattoo under his eye and everything, and
yeah, the
hair.
tattoos,
yeah. And then I when I was watching like BTS interview videos after that, like when I was first getting into BTS, I didn't know which member was Tae because I couldn't recognize the members yet. So I was like, this mystery man who I love is just somewhere. Eventually I figured it out and I was like, oh my god, I love Tae. He's great. So for me, very much like Singularity is a part of that. For me personally, I don't know, I don't want to call this a cop-out, but I feel like a lot of people love this song. But my favorite song from Tae is Sweet Night. There's just nothing that can compare. It is the epitome of just the most, what a love song. What a love song. Other people, they can't write love songs. Only Kim Taehyung is allowed to. Only V of BTS is allowed to write love songs from now on. It is like when you listen to it, you can feel it, and it's so beautiful. It was an all English song. And I remember when people sometimes forget this, by the way, that Sweet Night is an all English song, which is wild because like I remember when it first came out, it was a big deal. That was an all English song, but besides the point, really love the song. It is so beautiful. We were ships in the night. Oh, yeah. A bar. Hey, no one has ever sung such a beautiful lyric before. And his voice is so beautiful. It's just so beautiful and like perfect. And I love, like, he took like the energy from Sweet Night and he like infused that into Layover.
Yes.
I
Yeah, I
love
feel
that
like
so much.
Layover is just like Sweet Night put energy into the whole album. Yes, exactly.
Yes. It is so good. But yeah, I love Sweet Night. My favorite, hands down favorite Taehyung song. Kate was talking about how she had a difficult time finding it. For me, it was like immediately Sweet Night.
This was part of my problem because probably I too would have picked Sweet Night, but you picked it first, so then I had to pick something
You
else.
could have fought me on it. Fight for your rights, Kate.
No, this is fine. I found another song that had meaning to me as well. So it's
Yes.
fine.
All of Taehyung's songs have meaning to us.
Yes.
I love Layover so much.
Oh my God, me too. I now have this, so when I am in a particular mood, like in a funk, shall we say, a little bit, like I need just calm me time. I think of it like the rainy day with the hot chocolate. Anyways, Mono is always my go-to album for that. But now I can put Mono and Layover back to back. It's great.
For real. Taejoon forever right there.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Because then you have Forever Rain and then you have Rainy Days and yeah, but we love Tae.
I might
We
slip
love
Still
that.
With You in there as well, but
Honestly, you should. There's this YouTube video where it's like an ASMR, like someone did like rain sounds with Still With You. And it's so good. It's so good. I need to find it and send it to you. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so good. I love how people do ASMR noises with the songs sometimes. Delicious. Perfect. But yeah, that was our favorite songs from Taehyung. Do we want to do our favorite things about him too?
Yeah. Okay. I'll go first, and I'll say that the first thing that came to mind for me is how when things are happening that are not necessarily good things, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Basically, he doesn't take crap from people, and he doesn't beat around the bush about it either. He's just going to tell you how it is to your face. And that's not how this is going to be. There's no misinterpreting him. And I really appreciate that about him. And it makes me want to embody that a little bit sometimes in my day-to-day life.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. He just has, like, very similar to Jin.
Yeah.
It's like the no bullshit energy, this is me, this is who I am. You have to accept me as who I am, and I'm not going to change for you. And
yeah,
I love that.
December boys.
This kind of goes into my favorite thing about him too. I love how Taehyung, okay, listeners, if you're not a theater kid, you might not get this, but Taehyung has the hot theater kid guy energy who got the main roles in the theater show, but he's still a nerd and he's still awesome and amazing and a good person, right? So he's not like the jockey guy, but he's like the fun, nerdy, hot theater guy. And you're just like, oh my God, I love you. Ah! So he's like funky, cool, and fresh, but he's still a little awkward sometimes. And but it's fine because he's great and I love him. Eccentric energy to him. Did you watch the trailer was it the trailer for Beyond the Story? Not the trailer for Beyond the Star, where
There have been so many trailers. I can't keep track of what I'm just watching clips and videos. I'm just like, oh, this is great. Whatever this is.
No, but there's like a clip of Tae in his house. And he's like, oh, I decorated it myself. And we're just like, we could tell, babe. We could tell.
Yeah. We know.
Weird, fun energy. I'm not using weird in a bad connotation here. It's like weird in like he doesn't subscribe to like normal people stuff. Living his best life. For real. I want that. I want that.
Me too. Yeah.
We love that.
So I'm saying I want to embody just the like, I'm neurodivergent. I recognize I'm a little weird, and just being allowed to embrace that a little bit in my own life. I want to embody that more.
That is so slay of you. And you should, honestly. Whatever is deemed normal isn't even normal sometimes.
Normal is overrated.
It is. We have to be like Tae. We have to not let bullshit slide. Like we were talking about this too, like when we were planning, like the time in the Ellen interview when he just goes,
no.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Iconic right there. And that one time, I think they won the Mama Award for a music video.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was like Idol or something. But then Taehyung, he like got on the mic and he was like, "Spring Day is my favorite music video." And then he walked away. It was so funny. It was like, you're so real for that. Live your best life. Don't let anyone else tell you what's your favorite, Tay. So good. He also has like dry humor. Oh, I love a man with dry humor. Not many men can do it. Let's be real. Let's be real. But he could do it any day, anytime. And
yeah, no.
I love him for that. Yeah. That was like my favorite things about Tay. Do you want to say anything else, Kate?
Did we say everything? I think he's just, I don't know. And this is true probably of every member, but he's just like one of my comfort people. And I enjoy and I love the way he does his lives where he just comes on and vibes and then gets off when he's done. That's what we're doing today. Just vibing and singing. I don't know. I like that. It's very comforting content that he puts out.
Yeah. But you want to know what's not comforting? Taste. You can't laugh as I'm trying to transition.
I love the way we transition to different topics on this podcast. It's my favorite thing, and it just makes me giggle.
It's great. This is how I work in student government meetings. I'm just like, okay, sounds good. Next thing.
And we're off. Yes.
And we're off. But you know what's not comforting? The solo stands for Tay. They suck. They suck.
Mm-hmm.
We say this every birthday episode because it's very
happy birthday. We're gonna talk about how much your solo stands suck.
It's not his solo stands. We don't claim them. No. He doesn't claim them.
No.
But unfortunately, they're tied and associated, and it sucks. Okay, you guys probably are confused why we talk about solo stands every birthday episode, but there's a reason. It's important to talk about not liking solo stands and why they suck, and highlighting a lot of the really bad behaviors that they perpetuate, because we don't need that energy, and we hate that it's associated with the member, basically.
Yes.
What do you think about that, Kate?
I agree. And I also think that it's important to talk about here because here's a space where we can be like, hey, they're not good, without actually engaging with them in any way, because they are not listening to this podcast. So we're not giving them any of the clicks or attention they so desperately want.
And if they want to give us clicks and attention, we'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take it. Bring it on.
You.
That'd be great.
Appreciate it. I can't stand them. Especially, I say especially this solo stand every single time. But I just don't like Tay solo stands as well, because they're they swoop down really low. And it's all solo stands swoop down really low. But I think Tay solo stands especially, there's something about them, they're really ableist.
Yeah, they have their energy is just,
which I think might stem from the fact that Tay himself exhibits neurodivergent traits. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Kate? I'm not neurodivergent, so I don't want to speak on that.
No, but I think it's true. And this comes up with all the members in some respect when neurodivergent army, when there's conversations about particular members or particular traits of certain members, there's always this bigger conversation of, oh, don't be armchair diagnosing, or don't be blah, blah, blah. There's always stuff like that going on in conversations. And we get that from Army too, just saying that's not just a solo stand problem. But I feel like there is definitely, a lot of extra negative energy that comes from the solo stands, because they're already being awful. And then this just feels like they're doubling down on their awfulness in some regards. But yeah, and I know that Tay especially has used sign language. I don't know. We should fact check this. Hold on. Google results inconclusive. I just feel like he's not fluent, but he knows signs. It's interesting. And I know he's used them during concerts and stuff.
To communicate with armies in the actual crowd.
Yeah, because I've seen video of that. I had more information on this at one point in time. But anyways, because he uses it in his grad speech in 2022. Okay, so what was I saying? Anyway, but he has been noticed for using sign language. I'll just put it that way. So he knows some international signs, and he's been noticed, and he uses them in concerts, and he used them. It made the rounds in like headlines and stuff when he used the sign. I'm pretty sure he used the sign for clapping the sign for clapping in his grad speech 2020. Anyway, so this all to say that, this is great that somebody is like putting sign language, and then we had permission to dance where there was like international sign in the choreography and stuff. So anyway, this all to say that it's really cool to get alternative forms of communication out into the world. And unfortunately, this has blown up, especially with his solo stance, because I remember it was after permission to dance. I can't remember when it was specifically, but one of our Deaf Army accounts basically had to correct because people were making assumptions about how much sign language he knew and what kind of sign language he was using, and just making assumptions, ableist assumptions in their posts. Anyway, so I just remember one of the Deaf Army accounts tried to course correct some of the conversations that were happening, and then all the solo stands jumped the account, and they had to go into hiding for a few days and stuff because they were just vicious about it. And now just use this moment to plug that if somebody is speaking from life experience about things that they know personally, they probably know better than you if you don't know these things. It'd be great if people stopped doing that when they don't understand something. Anyway. Yeah, so that was that I remember that from the solo stands were just like the dogpiling was wild. And then all the like ableist comments and stuff that come out while this is happening, and it's just really unpleasant for literally everyone. Yep.
It's really unfortunate that instead of seeing that as an opportunity for learning, that
Right.
the solo stand saw that as an attack on Tae.
Yeah.
Instead, it very much shows how solo stands, they subscribe to a narrative, and once they are subscribed to that, if you say anything that is opposing that narrative or goes away from that narrative, I've tried to talk to solo stands on the TL before, because what I do a lot is I practice talking people down or neutralizing them. Recently, I talked down a Jimin solo stan who was like very up and up, was like fighting people, and I was like, hey, what's going on here? Like, why are you feeling this way? And at the end, they were like, yeah, this is unreasonable. And I was like, and I just left them at that, because there's something about solo stan culture and the people that subscribe to solo stan culture that it makes you so, like it's like fight.
Yeah.
And there's no,
everything is so extreme.
yeah, that's exactly it. It's the extremes of it. If you say anything in opposition, then you're like completely in opposition.
Right.
And we have to destroy you and get rid of you in order to go back to normalcy.
Right.
But their normal is skewed.
Right.
That at a certain point, it's not even, it's just, it's all false misinformation, disinformation narratives. It's not even subscribed to truth. It's so interesting. It really feels reminiscent of the alt-right pipeline.
Yeah. It's super
I don't know.
Seeing from a researcher's perspective, I think there is something there in that the patterns and the way people behave, it all is super reminiscent of all those kind of recruitment pipelines into extremism, essentially, because it is a form of extremism. And that's how they behave, and they're very combative and aggressive about it. And if anything deviates from the extreme point of view that they are holding, then it must be wrong. And there's no room for nuance, and there's no room for logical conversation of any kind.
Definitely. And we should say that. We should say it's extremism. We should say it's like a pipeline. It's these behaviors we recognize as academics, as very problematic. And not in the sense of Twitter problematic, of that's problematic. It's genuinely
bigger picture, social community, our lives out here in the real world, that kind of problematic.
Yes. And it's important to talk about that. So I'm glad we're like touching on that as we're talking about it. Because especially with that the Deaf Army instance, like the example that you've shared, experience, that is so out of pocket. Because first off, you're saying solo stance. You're saying like Tay is like doing the sign language stuff, and like, it's really good. It's amazing. Great. He's amazing. He wants to share culture and cultural exchange and stuff, and connect with people through sign language. But then people attribute false things to that, right? And then someone who is actually deaf comes in and goes, "Hey, by the way, guys, you can't see me. I'm doing hand movements over here. We're moving." But from the side, there's a deaf army who's being like, "Hey, guys, that's not facts." And they're not, the deaf army did not say that's a bad thing that Tay did that. They did not say that. They're just correcting the misinformation. But because it is against what solo stands have already subscribed to, all of a sudden that deaf army is a target.
Yeah.
And when you talk through that thought process and then that context of the situation, it really does go to show how solo stands are like so extreme and so not, they don't think. They don't. And I don't know. How do you feel about that, Kate?
No, yeah, totally agree. I think that and I think the reason to worry is that this kind of thought process and this kind of pattern of behavior, it is more or less, although there's an argument to be made here, but it could be seen as more or less harmless in the grand scheme of things because it's just fans fighting over things on the internet, whatever. Although I don't actually believe that. I think there's a lot of harm that comes from this, but that is maybe another podcast. But if these folks are susceptible to this, what else are they susceptible to? And what else?
That's exactly it.
Yeah. What else could be using these patterns and this kind of social behavior and this social conditioning, if you will, for other things that are far more nefarious than fan wars?
Yeah. Because we can talk about this here very openly, that the solo stand fan bases, they scam people. They take money. We can say this. There's Tay solo stand fan bases that have been collecting money for his supposed first album that wasn't even announced or anything since 2018, 2017.
Right.
And they've been collecting money since then, supposedly. But then when Layover came out, where was the money? Where was the money? Where's the numbers, right? Because Army funders, because I help run a funding fan base, Army funders, we are very transparent about the money that we have and about the money that we give out, right? You can go check our receipts, check our numbers. We're not taking money from anyone to do anything else except give money to people to buy music and buy the music that the money was intended to be donated for.
Right.
But solo stand fan bases, they don't do any of that. So it's okay, where's the money? Where's it going? What are you doing with it? Because I can say this here, that solo stand fan sites, they take a lot of money that they raise from exhibits and that get donated to fan bases, because fan bases are usually associated with fan sites in some type of way.
Right.
They take money from those types of avenues so that way they can fund going to airports and going to concerts and going to public viewings and taking pictures of the members. It's all interconnected.
Right.
And as someone like who isn't behind the scenes of it, doesn't know what's happening with solo stand fan bases, like we don't know where the money is going. These people could like be doing tax evasion, could be doing a multitude of other things that is not just getting money for a supposed album.
Right.
How do you feel, Kate?
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you keep following that train of logic and you've got regular solo whoever out there donating money to these fan bases, it's not like they're necessarily, other than getting some nice pictures, question mark, it's not like they're like going to personally benefit from this in any way. And BTS is not benefiting from any of this because it's just invading their privacy and taking up space in places where Army could be. And it's just, and having been someone who was around unpleasant people during a concert, I can say that I'd rather those people weren't getting concert tickets.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about how a lot of sasaengs come from rich families, which is true, right? But a lot of sasaengs also get funded through these types of avenues in order to enable and continue the behavior. And it's a money issue at the end of the day. Like, I don't know how you would prevent this type of issue. There's a lot of educational stuff. I've brainstormed about this with other armies before to combat this money issue of like how the money comes from solo stands who are like susceptible and then get converted. They get converted and then they donate thinking that they're helping to, because there's multiple avenues that solo stand fan sites get money. Solo stand fan sites and fan bases get money. They do group orders and then people do gratuity or tipping people through that. So that way they get money through that. There's a lot of people in Korea who basically like don't work a job and they just run K-pop album group orders and they get money through doing that because it is like very lucrative, especially with tipping and like people like paying you to do the services as well. So there's that aspect of the solo stan money situation. And then there's the aspect of people donating for supposed causes, but then that money never actually going to supposed cause because solo stan fan bases inherently are not transparent with their money. And there's also the issue of raising money through cup sleeve events and exhibitions, fan site photo and video exhibitions. The money issue is present and there, and it's really out of control. And it just keeps contributing to the current problem we're talking about with solo stands and Tae.
Yeah.
And ableism.
Like, yeah. And I think you're right in terms of thinking of brainstorming and stuff. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to misinformation and disinformation. And how do we get to people before they're in a place where they are getting that information that is not good? And how do we combat or educate people who have already falling down that pipeline? Like, how do we catch them and bring them out of the misinformation zone? And that is like there's a whole field of research trying to figure this out, because again, like all the other extremism, it's not good to have these pipelines exist out there on the internet for people to fall into, because bad things happen to them and bad things happen to other people who end up becoming victims of whatever is going on at the end of these events, shall we say? So no, it's interesting because there's a lot of people doing research in this space, but I think it's easy, like we were saying, it's easy to dismiss this sort of behavior as, oh, that's just fans being fans, when in reality it's like a much bigger, scarier problem, and we have real life consequences to show for it. People losing their money, or I don't know, BTS having their private lives invaded and having things that are basically having scandals and leaks and weird things happen around them that could be prevented if we weren't enabling this sort of culture.
Yeah. To draw a comparison, in kind of fandom like Western fandom culture, there's this problem of people being hyper focused on problematic content and fixing problematic content. So there's a lot of people who fear themselves and fear consuming problematic content and fear ever seeing it. There's very recently, there was like this whole thread on Twitter of people going, there needs to be less sex scenes in movies. And it comes down from like this whole like thing about like conservatism in fandom spaces. And okay, we're gonna talk about this here.
All right, let's do it.
We might as well. But in fandom, there's a big issue, especially Western fandom spaces, there's a big issue of fandom to TERF pipelines. And TERF is a trans exclusionary radical feminist. So a TERF essentially is someone who doesn't include trans women in their feminism and their rhetoric. And a lot of TERFs are also hyper focused on what a woman is and like defining a woman, and a lot of times they subscribe to a lot of like conservative culture too in America. Also, this is a very American issue as well, like when I'm talking about the context of this, because usually we talk about issues that are very like global, international type of issues, but this like issue is specifically a Western fandom issue with the fandom to TERF pipeline. And I see a lot of comparisons from that pipeline to like the Army to Solo Stan pipeline, in that people are being isolated and fed this rhetoric and narrative, and then they are like stuck on the other end of the pipeline, right? Like, how do we get them back to Army, back to fandom? And like I've talked about this very openly before, but basically I was one of those really young people who were like trying to be like indoctrinated by those types of people when I was in fandom when I was younger. Because I was surrounded by really good people in my fan experiences, but there are like older people who try to influence you in a lot of ways. And basically, like what happened was like I broke out of that, and eventually a pattern beginning to emerge where a lot of people who become indoctrinated, they don't know how to get out of that, and there's no therapy that has been developed to help them. They're like, if they go talk to, okay, if you went to a therapist and you start, let's say for example of a solo stan, you go to a therapist, you have to first explain to them what army is. But first off, before even that, BTS. What's a BTS? Explain this BTS character to me, says the therapist. Okay? You have to explain BTS to them, then army, and then solo stands, which is so hard to articulate for a lot of people. We're both academics,
it's hard to articulate
and it's
for
hard.
me. It's hard to articulate for me, a researcher who is literally living and breathing this space. And when I have to go explain this to somebody who doesn't know any of this, oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard. And to get through all of it and people still be on board with a straight face is just, yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely no healing pathways for people. And because of that, a lot of times people just get stuck there forever and they never get out of it. And a lot of times, I've studied this in psychology before, where it's if you're like stuck, I forgot what it's called. It's like when you're stuck in a certain space and there's no way. There's a lot of cult research into this. Where if you're stuck in a cult, you're like not able to get out or break away because it's all the same.
Yeah, because there's a fear of the unknown, and if you step out of your space, you don't know what's going to be out there, and it could be a lot worse than what you're dealing with inside your space. And I will also say, to add to this, that this happens to be one of the things I actually do research on, is that, and I have been shouting this for the last decade, literally, about how these online communities and these online spaces are super, super important for people, especially people who maybe don't have super strong ties in their physical support networks or don't have a strong community in their hometown or wherever they are. So talking about a lot of people who are either already marginalized for some reason in their other parts of their life. So you'll have people who are already feeling lonely, and then they're going online to find community, which is a perfectly acceptable place to find community. And it's very real friendships that people are building in these spaces. And so we're saying, I have had therapists and people be like, well, just get off social media, right? And it's, you can't do that anymore. It's not, this is where we're socializing. And especially on places like Twitter, where there are no walls around these communities, even if you actively were trying to leave solo stands behind, for example, you are still going to end up running into them because the algorithms are going to put them in your face regardless. I would rather never see solo stand content, right? That would be great if I never ever had to interact with a single solo stand on Twitter. But the reality is I have to interact with them every single day because the algorithm is putting them in my face and putting me in their face. And then we run into each other and there we are. So there's no, you can't just, it's just like saying, oh, if you don't like this country, why don't you just move out of it? It's not realistic. That's not the solution here.
It really does need a cultural change. There needs to be something fundamental that changes about our culture and society. And we're the start of it. We're the beginning.
Yes.
Of a lot of this. That's just openly talking about a lot of the solo stan behaviors. For army, the army culture is changing that.
Yeah.
And it's helping that. Because even then, a lot of times when solo stans have rhetoric, I can tell that's coming from other places in their life.
Exactly.
It's not, a lot of times when solo stans are really controlling, it's because a lot of times they don't have control of their own lives. Because they live in abusive family home situations. Or very isolating space.
For them, being in this community and feeling the support and the solidarity, even if the essence of the community is victimizing someone else, there is a sense of that is still a community experience when they're still connecting to people and they still feel support. So telling them to just leave that and especially not giving them a landing pad that is safe somewhere else. It's just like foolhardy, right?
Yeah. That's why, very controversial opinion I have. I think ARMY should welcome ex-solo stands back into the fandom. If
Yeah.
someone's willing to change, we should welcome them back and we shouldn't cut them off. A lot of my moods don't agree with me. They're like, once they solo stand, they're out. We will not let them back in. But
yeah, that's like, I have lots and lots of feelings about this because, yeah, I am the sort of person that's much more into a reparative community experience. And so if people are willing to put in the work and make a change and educate themselves, then they should be allowed to be a part of the community again. And not, because like you banning them basically just, what is that doing? That's just making us the bad guys. Ooh, I said it out loud. Oh
you
my
can
God.
say it. I'll agree with you.
This is why I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so if you're getting dogpiled, ignore the dogpile. Block the people that are being extremely heinous. Just don't interact with that. But if you, like you were saying, if there's a one-off, oh, this solo stand happened across my timeline and they're saying some things, and then we had a conversation, that's a different kind of experience. And I am all for those more educational, positive, without it turning into a dogpile or without it turning into a hate war or whatever. If we can have these conversations, then I say go for it. But I don't, so I don't agree with, because if we become the extreme all or nothing, then we become extremists too. And that's, I'm hoping not what we want to be here, but
I hope we have conversations. Something I do a lot is I catch people. A lot of times I can recognize when people are falling into solo rhetoric and I catch them and I like curve them back. Especially because I follow back a lot of baby armies. Another controversial opinion. A lot of people say I shouldn't do that because they're baby armies and they're still
yeah, I
learning.
often follow back baby army.
And then they make mistakes. And I'm just like, they should make mistakes.
I made mistakes when I was a baby army. I'll say it. I'm not going to say what I made mistakes on because people just go find it. And
I'm canceling you. I'm going to go back in your Twitter history, Kate, and cancel you immediately.
Actually, it's not my Twitter history that's going to get me. It's my TikTok. Anyway, so if anybody wants to cancel me, my TikTok is much more good.
Yeah. You said a member's name, Stan, canceled immediately. How dare you not know the rhetoric and the language you use in the fandom immediately upon becoming an artist?
I'm so sorry I didn't download the entire dictionary into my brain upon entry. That's my bad.
That's wild. I can't. But yeah, very much we need to open people up, because what I do, like I use this example a lot because this happened with one of my moods, but she's a baby army. She became an army I think only this year, like 2023, and like she came into the fandom and she was basically victimizing Namjoon about the Indigo stream numbers. But then I curved her and I was like, hey, there's a reason they're lower, because there's a multitude of reasons. Genre, he released in December, which is Mariah Carey season. It's also album with a lot of genres that aren't like general public friendly. He did not make the next pop summer hit. Okay. Namjoon is out here being an artiste and hanging out. Okay. Right. I explained all that to them and then they curved back. And then like when it comes to stuff like that, there's a lot of behavioral things. Behaviorist, my psychology coming out. I'm not even a psych major anymore, but there's a lot of behavioral things you can do as an individual to help people out. And it's just about being calm, explaining things to people, giving receipts. Oh my God. I'm sorry. One of my moods did this really recently and it was really funny. And basically, it was like two solo stands fighting about something in her replies. And she was like, you both go f yourselves already. It was so funny the way that they were both arguing in the midst, because she was still tagged in the replies. So in the midst of the argument, she said that. And then in my head, I'm thinking, there's calmer ways we can diffuse the situation.
Yeah, there were probably multiple ways that could have been handled. So that was a choice. Yep.
But I appreciate her bluntness, and then like she started like arguing with them after that. It was a whole thing. But there's ways to curb behavior that I feel like, but I talk about behavioral changes on our Twitter a lot, but I have not made like tutorial threads or like videos about it. They're coming. Okay, I'm trying to pass my coding class right now.
Pass your coding class first, tutorials later.
Yes, but there's a lot that you can do to curb people. And we need to talk about that. And we need to not just reject people, because controversial opinion, I don't think we should just reject people once they go solo stan.
Yeah. And I feel if you are the sort of person that feels inclined to be spending your time and energy interacting with solo stans at all, then you might as well be doing it in a way that is going to end up with a positive outcome rather than you just fighting and making the timeline unpleasant for everyone.
Like, when it comes to this situation, something that is really important to remember is that if a solo stan is combative to you, but you're not combative back, they feel that disconnect and they don't know what to do with it. That's like one of the ways that really good ways to neutralize a solo stan who's being really combative and argumentative. At the moment you approach them with calmness and kindness is when they start to crack. What I say a lot to solo stans is, I understand where you're coming from, but this is not right. Or I hope you're treated with more kindness. Or I hope you're okay, because it does not seem like you're okay with the way that you're speaking. And when you approach them like that, it diffuses them, it neutralizes them. Because they don't know how to respond to you being kind to them, because everyone's just being mean to them. I know a lot of people will argue with me and not like that I say that, because it's easier to be really angry with someone. I always say I'm fighting with solo stans. I'm not really fighting with them, quote unquote fighting.
Right.
I'm more like explaining to them. And I think when you do that, it like triggers something in their brain. I'm not a psych major anymore. I don't know. But like something happens in their brain where they like can't figure that out, and it makes them pause. Like,
well,
a lot
yeah,
of times
because they're used to like certain patterns of interaction, right? And they have good comebacks for certain patterns of interaction because they're being trained by their own community to do it this way. So then when somebody comes to them who's calm and rational and is making a decent point, and I've seen this in lots of other extremist spaces too, so this isn't just solo stan spaces, but if you come to them and you're just like, okay, we can have this conversation, but then I'm going to actually have a conversation with you. And often things that, especially if you're using rational logical points and have receipts, things fall apart for them, and then they don't really have an argument anymore. It takes the wind out of their sails, if you will.
It definitely does. They just don't know how to respond to that. And when they don't know how to respond to something, you can then give them an idea and present it to them, and they will be more accepting of that idea.
Yeah.
What I do a lot is I try to explain why their behavior is irrational. So if they quote retweet a picture that has a member missing in it, and they're like, "Where's this member?" I'm like, "Did you really think that this person posted this picture with the intention to exclude the member?" And then sometimes they're like, "Yes, I do think so." And I'm like, "Okay, what is making you think that they're doing it?" Right? And then eventually at a certain point, they don't know how to respond anymore.
Right.
Because it's irrational. It's irrational behavior. So they're like, they don't know. And we need to get there eventually.
We'll get there eventually.
I say I don't know, but I do know.
Yeah, that's the thing. We do know, and this is the answer, but we have to get more than just us on board. Because the continued fighting and stuff, and with people who continue to fight, truly fight, use nasty words or what have you back, or just interact with these people at all, even if you're not in where you think is your part of Twitter, you're some over there in solo stan Twitter or something. Thing is we all, anyone who's following you and anyone who follows you and all, whatever, like all of those it all gets pulled back to our timelines. And if you truly don't want to see this toxic stuff on the timeline and you don't want this to be part of our community, then you need to stop bringing it to our community.
You can say it. Go ahead.
I said it.
So maybe us seeing solo stans all the time might be the fault of a lot of people who go seeking it to make fights.
Yeah. And if you see it on your timeline, mute it, block it, move on. You don't need to subject yourself to that. You don't need to subject the rest of your community to that. And I feel like if you are in the mood to have a rational conversation, pick a time and a place, but make sure that whatever energy and whatever kind of people you're interacting with are those the sort of people that you want to continue being in our community space, because that is the biggest factor in what makes us see what we're seeing, is people are interacting with it and quoting it and replying to it. And we don't need, and I don't even need to see, I would rather not go on the timeline and see a bunch of screenshots either. I'd just rather not have that stuff in my space. And we could just not put that stuff in our space, is what I'm saying.
Definitely. I'm going to talk about this in our next episode, actually, about future thinking for the fandom.
Me too. We probably
Oh
put
my
the same. We
God.
probably put the same.
We probably did. We're literally, there's sometimes we're just so on the same page about things. It's great. But there's a lot of future thinking to have with the fandom. And like how we respond to solo stands right now should not be how we're responding to them in 5 years. Or even when BTS come back. When BTS come back, when all the daddy's home edits start.
Yeah.
And he is home. Our papa is home. Okay? I don't want to be having these types of conversations anymore.
No, I want to be having fun. I want to be like feeling the love and telling the dad jokes. That's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be worrying about all this other garbage that we've been dealing with for the last years.
Yes. So we need to start thinking now of how we're going to solve these issues instead of just responding to them as they come. Because it's not working. The past 3 years have shown us it's not working. It's time to make a change. It's time to make a change. It's time to switch it up. It's time to do something new. And that is called being kind.
Woo! It's revolutionary.
This is my life. And my life is just telling people to be a little kinder to each other and people going, what if we try to kill each other? And I'm like, you could have not done that. You could have just lived your best life, but you chose not to. So anyway, final thoughts, Kate.
Final thoughts. Happy birthday, Kim Taehyung. Woo!
Even more than my left foot.
Whoa. That's the hot take for this episode.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah, but happy birthday. And I probably have not said this enough on this podcast, but I deeply appreciate each of the members for the different gifts that they have given me over the years. The ability to say happy birthday and thank you for layover and the other wonderful things that have happened this year is just, it's nice to be able to do that. I will leave that with my wrap up.
I so agree. I love being able to say happy birthday to each member. I love that we do birthday episodes. It's just a permanent part of the series, basically, of the podcast series. And I don't know, I love Tae. There's this one tweet about this person. They said Tae is like all of the warmth of winter in a person. So true.
Can I add that, yes, I love the fact that now December for me is like, oh, December, I can put on all my Tae music. And it's now like, that's my holiday music. It's just putting on his music. It's great.
Snowflower goes on all winter long.
Yes.
Coming from Mariah's crown, for real.
That's right.
Snowflower and
Winter Bear. I love it.
Yes, Winter Bear. He is coming for the Christmas crown, okay? He's gonna release a Christmas jazz album and then take Mariah's crown and no one can stop him. I'm manifesting, okay? I love that man. I love that man to death. Like, he is everything to me. I feel like out of all the members, I am the most unhinged for Tae. I will say the most unhinged things. It's just if he needed a left foot, I would just give him mine. Honestly. Like, wouldn't even think about it. But yeah, we love Taehyung. Happy birthday, Taehyung. Our little winter bear, our most wonderful Kim Taehyung. Thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. And please remember to stream BTS, stream Kim Taehyung, stream Layover top to bottom, by the way, because we promote top to bottom streaming here. Okay, because that is the most efficient way to stream an album. If you didn't know already, it is the most efficient way. And it also guarantees a stream for every single song. So you should stream top to bottom. Start the first song, finish at the bottom. There you go. There you go.
See.
But yeah, happy birthday. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful holiday season. Wait, we have a season finale still. I can't say bye yet. Okay, anyway. Have a wonderful holiday season anyway, because this episode comes out, what, like early December?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Have a good holiday season, whatever you celebrate, or just random December if you don't recognize anything. But yeah, take care. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.